Ellen DeGeneres, apology. That's the breaking news. Allegations of wrongdoing at the Ellen Show. We're going to look at Ellen's apology today and unpack it from a PR and crisis management perspective. In fact, that's what I do for a living. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Banyan. We work with celebrities, high-profile individuals, social media influencers, businessmen and businesswomen, and folks of all types who find themselves under fire. But what I'd really like to unpack today is how Ellen framed her apology and whether it worked or whether it's going to work. So let me read from you the email that Ellen DeGeneres herself sent out to the members of her show. Now keep in mind, for weeks in advance of this apology letter, our headlines have been filled with accusations of a toxic work culture. However, we didn't hear from Ellen during that time. Perhaps she was hoping that the storm would blow over and everyone would pass by her and the news cycle would move on. That isn't what happened. And because she failed to speak out in a timely manner, those who were trying to attack her had no one to provide a counter perspective. Their message was getting out. Their narrative was what we were hearing. Their allegations were front and center. So without further ado, here's the actual letter that Ellen sent to her staff. Hey everybody, it's Ellen. On day one of our show, I told everyone in our first meeting that the Ellen DeGeneres Show would be a place of happiness. No one would ever raise their voice, and everyone would be treated with respect. Obviously, something changed. And I'm disappointed to learn that this has not been the case, and for that, I am sorry. Anyone who knows me knows it's the opposite of what I believe and what I hoped for our show. I could not have the success I've had without all of your contributions. My name is on the show, and everything we do, and I take responsibility for that. Alongside Warner Brothers, we immediately began an internal investigation, and we are taking steps together to correct the issues. As we've grown exponentially, I've not been able to stay on top of everything and relied on others to do their jobs as they knew I'd want them done. Clearly, some didn't. That will now change, and I'm committed to ensuring this does not happen again. I'm also learning that people who work with me and for me are speaking on my behalf and misrepresenting who I am, and that has to stop. As someone who has judged and nearly lost everything, as someone who was judged and nearly lost everything for just being who I am, I truly understand and have deep compassion for those being looked at differently or treated unfairly, not equal or worse, disregarded. To think that one of you felt that way is awful for me. It's been way too long, but we're finally having conversations about fairness and justice. We all have to be more mindful about the way our words and actions affect others. And I'm glad the issues at our show were brought to my attention. I promise to do my part in continuing to push myself and everyone around me to learn and grow. It's important to me and to Warner Brothers that everyone who has something to say can speak up and feel safe doing so. I am so proud of the work we do and the fun and joy we all help put out in the world. I want everyone at home to love our show, and I want everyone who makes it to love working on it. Again, I'm so sorry to anyone who didn't have that experience. If not for COVID, I'd have done this in person, and I can't wait to be back on our stage and see you all then. Stay safe and healthy. Love, Ellen. I happen to think that Ellen DeGeneres is an amazing communicator. I think she inspires people with her optimism and an infectious, warm personality. People enjoy the interviews that she does with gifts. I think a big part of the reason why Ellen's having such a hard time right now is that image that she cultivated was so positive, so squeaky clean, talking about in her letter when she was invoking what it's like to be judged. Obviously, Ellen's been a great figurehead for women, for speaking out for those who have not had a voice, including members of the LGBTQ community. I think Ellen has made overall tremendous contributions in a positive way to our world. Now, that being said, that is not a way of dismissing or downplaying the allegations of a bad work culture on the set at the Ellen DeGeneres show. So I think what's really interesting when you read that apology letter, it's very long, and clearly I believe it had the imprimatur of a number of different authors on it. I could be wrong. I can tell you by way of full disclosure, I did not write it. No one at Red Banyan wrote it. I think it misses the mark, and here's why. I could go through and I could pick out phrases within it that I think fell flat, things that seemed disingenuous. Obviously, it lacked an ability to connect in a real personal way. And I believe that the reason that's the case is it lacked Ellen. Her name was on that email, but we didn't see her, and we are accustomed to seeing her. So, what does she need to do? Well, before she sent an email, I think it would have been a much better idea to get Ellen out there addressing these accusations and taking them on forcefully. If, in fact, these allegations are true, and there's certainly dozens of people who have come forward with information that suggests where there's smoke, there's some fire. And now you've got Warner Brothers and Ellen investigating. So clearly they have reason to believe that this is not just an attempt to assassinate her reputation by disgruntled former workers. But for 2 weeks, since the most salacious allegations started dominating the headlines, there was nothing, and now there's this apology letter. So my message to you, Ellen, if you're out there listening and watching, is don't send any more emails. You need to talk to your staff, to your employees. You need to talk to the public. And I actually think there's a lot of goodwill towards you. And I think that you could be convincing and warm and affable. And yeah, you may have to do some hard work, and there may be some ugliness that went on at a show that bears your name. But as you mentioned in your email correctly, you're responsible, and it's your name on the show. So in closing, I would just say, Ellen DeGeneres, her career is not over. It doesn't need to be over. I think her crisis management of this situation could have been dramatically better. But she has to go forward from where she is today. And where she is today is still absent in a front and center way. And so I think Ellen is a great communicator. She's got a big audience. Now's the time for her to activate her supporters, her surrogates. But more importantly than anything else, now is the time for Ellen to come forward, look us all in the eye through the camera, and really get to our heartstrings, pull on our heartstrings, and connect with us and show us the sort of genuine person that I happen to believe that she is. And hopefully what we'll see is Ellen's ability to learn from this and to grow, which she did, to her credit, put into her email. But I think we want to see Ellen, and only then when we see her and we look her in the eye, then we'll really and truly get a sense of how heartfelt she is when it comes to addressing these allegations. For those who are interested in learning more about apologies, how to do them right, it's something that I touch on my blog on the Red Banyan website, www.redbanyan.com. You're welcome to check in regularly. We analyze a lot of crisis communications attempts by Hollywood celebrities, by artists, by CEOs and business leaders. And we try to help everyday organizations and everyday people navigate challenging and complex circumstances.